This is Kayla Baity with ShareDog.com here with Desmond Torres, whose fight is coming up on August 25th at CXF. Desmond, how are you?
I'm doing very well.
Good. So, reading up on you, you started training at age 10, I believe. Can you give us a little bit of a background on your story and why you started training?
So, might sound like a little cliche, but I started off like getting in like a lot of trouble, like at an early age, like in school, and then like I used to get into like a lot of like fights. Then I'll never forget this one movie came out called Never Back Down. And that's the movie that made me go into it. I was just like, oh man, there's a sport for this, you know, like I can get paid to do this. So when I seen that movie, I think only like a month later I enrolled into like an early kids class that was just starting off for MMA. Then it just kicked off from there. But ever since I started, I already knew about like UFC. Like my dad was watching it from way back then, also Pride. So when I seen that, I already knew I wanted to like do it as like a career path, you know.
Do you remember what fights you'd watch with Dad, with UFC and Pride, or which fighters you would watch?
I remember like watching like Rampage, Chuck Liddell, Tito Ortiz. I remember watching like those guys. I remember when like Randy Couture was still like champ and everything. Like that was pretty cool.
So have you been enjoying the Bellator Heavyweight Grand Prix? Because it has a couple of those names that you just dropped, or at least they're fighting in there.
Yeah, I enjoy it. Pretty cool. I see like what Chael Sonnen's in there, Ryan Bader, who else? Rampage is in there. Yeah, it's a pretty cool event. I like it. I'm pretty interested. It's like a little fun. I like the little tournament aspect, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Which I want to talk about that and just what's going on in 2018. But before we talk about that, I want to discuss how you have a wrestling background. And we're noticing more and more that a lot of wrestlers are successfully coming into MMA and doing well. And the few that I've talked to, they kind of fall back on saying, well, you know, we're used to getting our weight on check, or the discipline's there, or just, you know, it's wrestlers, they're the ultimate athletes. So how do you feel like your wrestling skills and background have transitioned and been successful in MMA?
Well, wrestling by far was like the hardest sport I ever did. The wrestling grind was real. I mean, Dan Gable said it, once you wrestled, everything else in life is easier. Wrestling helped out a lot, though. It was just like all those endless months of just like weekends of like competing, cutting weight, in that room for hours, grinding. It like, once you get through like that, you know, like your practices become like a little bit more easier because you know they're gonna end, you know. But like that wrestling grind really helped out. It helps me like push through like in fights. Like when I know things are getting like hard, I know there's gonna be an end to them, you know. So there's just keep pushing through it. So wrestling helped out a lot. I recommend everyone to wrestle, at least through school.
And so, are you from California, or where did you grow up?
So I was born in Hawaii. I was out of Wahiawa, Hawaii, and then by like the age of 5, I moved to Michigan. And about like 5 to 6, maybe like 7, 8, I left and went to Virginia. So I was raised in Virginia, and then like that's where I did like all my MMA, all my wrestling. Out of Manassas, Virginia.
What is the MMA circuit like out there?
It's still brand new. Like there's not like a lot going on. Usually like there's like a lot more government workers over there, not a lot of athletes. So I mean, wrestling's pretty common over there. A lot of like those country kids like to wrestle. But Virginia's MMA is still like upcoming. There's still like 1 or 2 big or like upcoming promotions, but not so often. Usually you gotta drive out to maybe like New Jersey, New York, you know.
And I think I saw in a previous interview that one of your favorite fighters is Khabib Nurmagomedov. Now he's champion, still undefeated. Can we just talk about how you've enjoyed watching him become champion?
Well, I mean, the guy's the best. He hasn't lost a round, you know. Khabib is, you know, I like the dude because it kind of reminds me of like that wrestling aspect, you know. Like he's gonna sit there. Some people might say it's boring, but I mean, a guy pushes for every round, you know. Every round he's won. I think it's pretty cool. I think it's a long time overdue that he's a champion. I mean, I think he should have been champion at least like a few fights ago. But I'm happy to see they're finally bringing it out to Moscow now. So they're going to Russia.
Yeah, they have plans to eventually.
So it's good, you know, like I mean, they were hyping him before, but it wasn't like that big of a deal. I feel like the UFC was kind of like brushing him off. I mean, I understand he got injured a lot, but the guy, just like I said, man, he hasn't lost a round, you know? Like, that's incredible. That's unheard of, you know? You go, what, like, how many fights does he have? Like, over 20, what is it, like 22 now?
I think so, yeah.
22 fights, you haven't lost a round. You know, how many rounds is that? How many times has he been, like, in a main event fight? You know, that's crazy. I think it's a really good thing. I think they finally give him the benefit. They got him versus Conor McGregor. That's a pretty big card. I think that's going to sell out a lot.
Do you plan on going, and how do you predict the fight going? It's in Vegas. It's not in Austin.
Actually, I probably will. If I can get my hands on a ticket and everything, I'll go up there. To be honest, I think it's going to be a close fight. And the only reason why I say that is just I'm a huge Khabib fan, but I'm a big MMA fan. And I just think, you know, Khabib got really good ground. I heard he hits really hard. You know, he's a very strong guy. But Conor McGregor's just, like, on a little different level, I think, for, like, his stand-up. You know, but I think, to be honest, I still think Khabib pulls it out. I think he grinds it out for about 5-6 rounds. But Conor McGregor always had, like, that little gas issue, you know, gas tank. So I think Khabib wins. I could see maybe a stoppage, maybe about 3rd or 4th round.
And so we were just talking off camera. You were recently cornering at UFC 227, which that's an accomplishment itself, you know, for a young fighter, just to be at a UFC event in someone's corner. So can you talk to us about who you were cornering and being in that environment and being so close to someone who's fighting? How does that inspire you or make you hungrier to get in and eventually be a part of that promotion?
The experience was great, honestly. Alex Perez took me up there. I cornered Alex Perez. He had a big UFC win. Shout out Alex Perez. Man, honestly, it was just a great experience. All the guys just brought me over there. I stepped into that cage, and that was the most surreal moment. Like, when I stepped in there and I looked up and I seen, like, all the chairs. It was way before any of the fans got in. But it was still like, man, like when I stepped in there, I don't know how to make it sound without, but like it just felt like that's where I should be, you know, like that's where I'm gonna be. So when I stepped in there, and you know, like I could see myself being there, maybe few more fights, you know, just gotta push hard, few more fights, I'll be there. So it was really good. Cornered Alex Perez. He just fought Jose Shorty Torres. Good UFC win. Yeah, it was a good fight. If any of you guys haven't seen it, go check it out. UFC Fight Pass. It was a pretty good fight. Alex Perez put a pretty good statement out there. Also a 25er, so he helps me out a lot. You know, that's like one of my main training partners and everything. So that was all good.
Yeah, I saw that you were shouting out to the UFC if they need a last-minute opponent, or I think you were calling out your dream fight against Sergio Pettis. Is that still your dream fight?
Yeah, I like Sergio Pettis. He was like a guy, like I said, I'm a big MMA fan, so like I watched all these guys start from like bottom on up, you know. Like I remember watching Sergio Perez before I'm not Perez,
Pettis.
Yeah, Sergio Pettis before he was even in the UFC. You know, so I think fights like this is cool just because, you know, he's a young guy. I'm a young guy. Maybe I can be there one day. Maybe we can headline a card, you know. Probably be something pretty cool, but I mean, I didn't get it.
Yeah, I think one of the coolest things Demetrius Johnson shared was, you know, backstage he had spoke about he remembered watching Joseph Benavidez on TV, and that's what got him in the gym. And then later he's fighting him and beating him, and, you know, a dominant champion. So it's definitely doable. So before we talk about your fight coming up soon, I want to talk. I had also seen you say something about just being a new age fighter. Like you said, you're a young fighter. I want to hear your opinions on the pros and cons of social media, because it is something that's out there. Twitter now, Instagram, all of that really plays into maybe how fights can be put together, how a fighter can market themselves. So how do you feel about, or what are the pros and cons, I guess, to social media when it comes to your MMA career?
Social media. Social media's it's a big help. Honestly, it is. It's a big help just because, you know, it wasn't there way before, but it's so easy to get like 1,000 fans. It's so easy to get 2,000 fans nowadays. You know, I go put up one post and, you know, I can promote it and be seen through 3,000 different people. You know, it's an easy way. It helps out young people like myself, you know, like basically build a fan base before getting into UFC. You know, bigger promotions like you. You know, if you have like a lot of followings, just because you know you're selling a lot more tickets, you sell those tickets. You know, you bring in more fans. That's what the promotion's like. The pros and cons. I mean, just like I said, you get a lot more fans. You get more fans, you know, you get more sponsorships, you get more, you know, more interviews, more everything. So it's honestly a good thing. Cons is, man, you got to sit there and take pictures all the time.
How's your selfie game?
My selfie game is not strong. It needs to get more strong, but it's not strong. I always get like a lot of people, my manager, shoot, even my own father tells me, man, you need to be posting more, you know. So it's all right. I just need to get my selfie game up.
And so, wait, that totally caught me off track because I wanted to ask you one more thing about that. Oh, how would you feel if someone made you into a meme? Would you like it or hate it?
It would be cool. It'll give me more followers. So, I mean, I would like it. I'm also a big fan of the memes. So, as long as it's funny and it's not hurting me, I'm cool.
Okay, so let's talk about your upcoming fight. I wasn't able to find your opponent online, so can you tell me and the audience here about your opponent, how you've prepared for him, and just how you've prepared in the gym and what you're looking to accomplish in this next fight?
To be honest, I forgot my opponent's name.
Okay.
But my opponent, I believe he's a boxer. He's his nickname. I remember his nickname. His nickname is the Brawler. He's a big brawler. He's gonna come out there. You know, he wants to make it like a war. I find myself, or what my coach always tells me, it's just be a more smart fighter, you know. So I'm going in there. He's going to be a big brawler. You know, I mean, if he wants to trade hands, we can trade hands. I mean, I have no doubt in my power and what my chin can take. I think it's going to be, honestly, I think it's going to be a little fun fight. I remember the guy's name. His name was Benji the Brawler. That was his name.
Benji. Okay, sorry, Benji. Benji the Brawler. So, what you said, August 25th.
Yeah, August 25th. It's going to be in Studio City, CXF. It's going to be a fun little event. Hit me up for tickets.
All right, well, thank you so much for talking with us, and good luck in your fight.